Hey guys, welcome to this live session by Great Learning. My name is Ram, and you guys may know me, doing live sessions on DevOps and Docker. And today we'll be doing another live session on Docker. So today, guys, we'll be learning how to Dockerize a Node.js application. Now, there are a few things to keep in mind over here. Like, when we are saying Dockerizing a Node.js application, what we'll be doing is, using a Node.js image and basically trying to deploy a very simple software with that. So I just wanted to show you how the steps are going to be. So this might be very useful for someone who's very well acquainted with Node.js and wants to get ahead in using Docker. So it will be useful for you there. But if you guys want, I will give you guys a brief introduction to both Docker and Node.js, and if you want that, please leave that in the chat. And also, guys, give me a confirmation on whether you can hear me properly and whether you guys can see the screen properly, because that's also important before we start our session. So while you guys are giving me the response and while I open the app on the side, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys something cool. So guys, here at Great Learning, we've started something called Great Learning Academy. Now, this is an excellent thing that every one of you should check out. So just type in Great Learning Academy in Google, and the first thing that appears, just click on that, and this is what you're gonna see. So in Great Learning Academy, what we're basically doing is we're basically giving away a lot of courses for completely free. So the purpose of this is to help the students, freshers, and people who are looking to upskill, and we're doing it completely for free also. So there is no charge, no cost of charge over here. You can do it without having to worry about paying for anything. And once you do complete these courses, you will get a certificate on them. So let's say you started Excel for beginners, you completed this course, you did a quiz on it, and you will get a certification at completion of your course after you pass the quiz. All right, so which you can use to tell people that you have a good foundation in the field of Excel. Similarly, you can have a lot of different courses. There are like 80 plus courses. Like you can go to big data, cloud computing, IT and software, and again, our expertise, that is data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. So you have a lot of different things you guys can go ahead and check out. I would recommend checking it out, even if you're, not going to be enrolling. It's a really cool thing, and you can always, uh, there's no mandatory thing, so you can always, just look through if you want the better term. And also, we have our live session updates also over here, so you guys can check that out also. Okay, so coming back, let me just open the chat and see what kind of response I'm getting in this live session. All right, so Abhishek says, yes, you can hear me. So I hope that's what you mean, with that, yes. Okay, so guys, with that out of the way, let's begin this session. All right. And yeah, please do feel free to give me any questions in the chat if you want to, because it's always good to have a very interactive chat, talk to each other, discuss things, and if you have any questions related to the topic I'm talking about today, please drop them, or even related to any of these topics I'm covering today. Okay, so I want to know one thing from you guys. How well do you know Docker? So if you don't know Docker, please let me know, or if you do know Docker, please let me know in the chat. Like drop a message saying that yeah, I know about Docker. I'm just interested in knowing how you Dockerize a Node.js application. Well, I'm not seeing that much of an activity. Maybe that's the lag. When I start speaking again, I'm going to get those messages. But let's just continue. I'll assume that, you guys need to get at least revised on what Docker is and what, the whole concept of it is. So to understand that, we need to know why we containerize. So the whole thing with Docker is that you containerize specific things. Now, why do we need containerization? So we have someone saying, yes, I know Docker. I just want to know how to Dockerize Node.js app. All right, fine. We will learn how to do that also, so don't worry about that. Let me just give you guys a revision on what Docker is, and then we'll, quickly move on to, uh, do the practical session. So why containerization? So this is a very standard delivery pipeline in software development. In the industry, you'll have something based out of this. This is what the generic thing is, not, and everybody uses this, or at least even anybody uses this. Is a very simple thing. This is just to explain to you guys what it is. Like, the developer writes the code, he takes the dependencies with the code, and he sends it for building process. Building process is basically where you convert the code into the software, where it gets bundled up with all of its dependencies and tools that are required to run it. And once it gets converted into that executable or the software, the tester tests it for many different things. And the tester thinks that the software is ready for deployment, he will send it for deployment. But if he thinks there's something wrong, he'll inform the developer about the same, and the developer will restart this whole pipeline by, rectifying the code and sending it again for the building process. So this time when the tester thinks that, it's fine to go ahead for deployment, it will go to the production environment where the software is available to the end users. Okay, so this is a very standard delivery pipeline. In these kind of pipelines, if you do not use containerization, the most common thing that can occur is, bottlenecks that happen due to compatibility issues. So what do I mean by compatibility issues over here? So you see that the developer and dev testers have their own laptops, right? So they're making the code on their own laptops. But the thing is that their laptops are of pretty different specifications. Even if there's a company standard set, they're going to have a few different things that they have in your laptop. So, so what happens is that since they have different environments, the different environments cause compatibility issues in running the code. Now, in the developer's system, the code is like running fine because he's fine-tuned his system to run the code, whereas the tester does not know about these fine-tunings that the developer has done. So he doesn't do it, and the code does not run on his system because of some, slight variation in the version of the tool they're using. So that might be an issue. Maybe the operating system they're using has different libraries, so that's why it's not running. So there are a lot of things that can happen in compatibility issues. The point over here is that they're using a different environment to work on the code. So this can cause problems in certain situations. Certain situations it may not cause, but we don't want to take that risk. So that's what we do. So to resolve that, we try to bring in containers. Now what containers do, they basically wrap up all the different parts of the software. This software parts can be your code, your dependencies, your libraries, your functions, and your tools that are required to run this code, and the environment itself. This can be the operating system. So let's say the developer says in the requirements that he needs to use Ubuntu to run this system, this software. So he will mention in his Docker container that he needs Ubuntu to be there in the container. So in that container, we will have Ubuntu operating system, certain tools that are required to run the software, the code itself, and the dependencies itself. So instead of sending the code directly, like just the code, what he does is he sends the container, because the container is a self-isolated, it's a self-contained environment. So since it's a self-contained environment, it doesn't really need to interact with anything else, and all the processes that need to happen on this code, such as the building process, such as the testing process, happen within the container itself. Since it happens within the container, there's no interaction with the outside environment. So what laptop the developers have or the testers have doesn't really matter, because we have one self-contained environment, that is the container being passed along. And once all the processes happen, the testing, the building, and it goes to the production environment, it can be deployed even using the containers itself, because the containers are so well at maintaining this kind of isolation, right? So this is what containerization helps us to resolve. And these containers, right? So what are these containers? So these containers are basically software that wrap up all the parts of a code and all of its dependencies into a single deployable unit that can be used on different systems and servers. So the code, the libraries, the environment, all of it's taken together and put inside of a container. And that container is used for all the various purposes in the software development process. Why do we need them? There are two reasons. One I've already told you, that is consistent development environments. And the other one is microservices. So if you don't know about microservices, it's basically taking your software and breaking it down into significant parts. Let's say you have one app and there are 5 features within that app. So what you do is you divide that software into those 5 features. So it becomes easy to manage that software. You know where those 5 parts are, and you can easily scale, remove, update, modify those 5 parts because you've individually divided it. You don't have to work on the single monolithic app. So we deploy these 5 features within containers. So when we deploy it within containers, we can use orchestration tools to manage these containers, and that really helps us, manage our software and deploy the software. So that's why, again, with microservices. Okay, so what is Docker? Docker is a tool that helps us to create these containers that we've been talking about. So basically, if you take Docker, you can take an app and you put it in a set of containers and you can deploy it. And one more thing about Docker is that it allows us to, create a layer of security over these containers. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's move on to the proper practicals. So if you guys had any doubt in that, please feel free to ask me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to AWS over here. Let me just quickly log in. All right, so we are logged in our management console. So I'm going to be using this cloud service to launch a virtual machine, and we'll be doing all the work on the virtual machine. Now we're doing that because it's a lot more of a hassle to download a virtual box into it, and I prefer launching it from the virtual machine because I can easily remove it and start it. So we're going to be using the EC2 services. Let me launch up an instance quickly. We'll be using an Ubuntu instance. So I'm going to choose a all protocol network, all type network, because I don't want any compatibility issues in future. So let's just review our data. We are using Ubuntu Server 20.04 LTS, and we're using t2.micro. That's a free tier one. Security group this is the correct one, and all traffic. Okay. So let me just launch this. Okay, so we'll view the instance. All right, let me just name this. Okay, so it's up and running. Okay, so let me just bring up this. This is my SSH client. I'm basically logging into this instance using my SSH client. I already have my key configured over here, private key, so there shouldn't be a problem for me. I'll just open it up. Yes. Okay, so we have Ubuntu. Let me just update this instance. Okay, so now let me go ahead and install Docker. So again, guys, there are two methods to install Docker over here. One, we can use the apt repository directly. There is a version of Docker we can install from there. Or if you want, you can directly get the latest long-term support Docker version, and you can install that. I would recommend the longer version if you are working in production environment. Actually, this is not a problem. It's just that there you can configure more things, and it's to be on the safer side. All right, so we've basically installed Docker. Let me just check that. Okay, so we have installed Docker. Now, okay, so do we need to go through Docker environment? I think all of you already know what a Docker environment is. I will just revise it again for you guys. So Docker environment is basically going to contain everything that Docker has inside of it. You have the Docker engine, the objects, the registry, the compose, and Swarm. So compose is not actually exactly a part of Docker environment. You have to install it separately. I've just included it to encompass everything that is in Docker. So Docker engine is basically what makes Docker run, and to create any objects or to manage any processes, the Docker engine is responsible for that. Docker objects are things like your images, your containers, your networks, your volumes, all of the tangible things that you create with Docker. And then you have Docker registry. So the registry is basically responsible for storing all the different types of images and different versions of images. And it's a remote registry generally. So you can pull it and push to it from anywhere in the world. The Docker Compose is a service that allows us to create multiple containers at the same time. Now, generally when we use Docker, let's say I use the Docker run -it -d Ubuntu command. This will run Docker. Yeah, let me get root access. Now this will basically run Docker for me. Ubuntu image, it will basically read Ubuntu container for me. So if I do a Docker ps, sudo Docker ps, you guys can see a container is running. But the thing is, I used one command for this, like one command line. So what if I wanted to create like 4 containers with different specifications? To do that, I need to create something called a docker compose.yaml file. For that, we need to use Docker Compose. So for this, there is a separate installation also. And then we have Docker Swarm. Okay, so Docker Swarm is basically something that allows us to manage multiple containers that may be created. So this is an orchestration tool. Okay, so I hope that was clear. The architecture just basically show you guys how it works out. These are the command. Docker build allows you to basically tells Docker daemon to build an image of your specification by referencing Docker file. Docker pull basically allows you to pull a specific image that you have mentioned into local repository, and run allows you to basically run any images that you may have created or any image that there already exists into a container. Okay, so now let's talk about what is Node.js. Now, do people know what Node.js is in the? If you know what Node.js is, let me know in the chat. What is Node.js? Are you familiar with this topic? Now, I know some of you are, as I have gotten a comment before. Radhika is asking, can you speak in Hindi? Yes, I can speak in Hindi. I have some sessions in Hindi, but it will not be fair to switch into Hindi right now because it's an English session and some people may not understand Hindi, right? So, do you guys know what Node.js is? All right, so I'm gonna assume you guys don't know. Node.js is an open source, you know, Java script runtime environment. What it basically does is it allows you to run a JavaScript code. It's like a framework for JavaScript. It basically, allows people to create JavaScript websites by allowing them to use a lot of common tools that are generally used. So you don't have to write stuff from scratch. So you use it as a platform to develop software, to create a lot of different types of software, right? Mainly web applications, and write the backend of the web application. Okay, so that is Node.js. So what we are going to be doing today is basically will be Dockerizing a Node.js app. So to Dockerize a Node.js app, what we'll do is we will write a Docker file that describes all the different things that we want inside of our Node.js app. Now, generally, we want to install npm also. That is a node package manager that is responsible for installing all the um, packages that we will require. So let me just install node package manager over here. Okay, so it's almost complete. So now I'm installing npm. Once we do that, okay, what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to create a directory. Let's call it project. And within project, I'm going to run npm init. So this will allow me to create a package.json file. Now, a package.json file basically like a meta file that describes everything about your project. So name, I'm going to leave it as default. Version, we'll leave it as default. Description, this is a Node.js app. Entry point, index.js itself. Test command, no need. Git repository, we don't need to mention. Um, License, the same. So it will show you what kind of package.json you're creating over here. So this is the package.json we are creating over here. Basically, we have mentioned, all the necessary information that we wanted to mention. And then we'll just press yes. Okay, all right. So we do need to make a few changes in this package.json file. I just realized. Let me just go ahead and make those changes. Shouldn't have made this Ubuntu. Let's make it more relevant. Okay. And we will be starting this with server.js instead. And that scripts will be running is a different script than this. So we'll not be running this script. We'll be running a start script. Node server.js. Okay. If you guys want a similar, let that be. Ahaha. Yes. Okay, so I messed up a little bit. Let's just 1 second, guys. So if you guys want a similar thing, right? You can always go ahead and check out Node.js's documentation. Over there, you can find, things that will help you launch your own Node.js app also using Docker. So mention express 4.16.1. Okay. All right. So we have created a package.json file. Okay, let's move it to project. If I do an ls, we have our package.json file here now. Now what we're going to do is we are going to perform the command npm install. So it will install all the requirements. New version failed to parse package.json. scripts start dependencies and express. What about the rest of it? Let's try this again. All right, just give me a second, guys. Name version is right, and description is right, mean is right, .js scripts is right, dependencies express. Okay, I don't know why it was giving us an error, but if we do an ls now, we should have a node modules and need to confirm if we have express installed inside of it. Okay, so we do have express installed inside of it. Okay, so we wanted to install express package for our node.js app, and it downloaded all other modules also because there are requirements for express. All right, so with that out of the way, we have installed all of this. We should have a dot. We should have a package log.json 5 also. Okay, so now let's create a server.js file. Let me just go ahead and write server.js const express equals require. So this will tell it that we require express. Since you're doing this by hand, you guys can follow me while doing this. Const port, we're going to be launching at 8080, and const host, this will go at localhost. So I'm going to mention just 0.0.0. Now we're going to create the app. Okay, app.get slash. Let's say a simple message that we want to send. Hi guys, hope you are enjoying the session. Okay, so we added a simple message. All right, so let's just close the brace, parentheses. All right, now just need to mention one more thing. App.listen port host console.log running on http symbol host using braces. All right. Okay, so let me go ahead and save this file. All right, so now what we will do is we will create a Docker file. If I just let me just recheck this. Okay, so we have all of it. Now let me just try this. Okay, so it's giving us a error. We did not mention const over here. Let's try that again. All right, so let's go to port 8080. All right, so our Node app is working fine. Now we just have to transfer it into a Docker container. Okay, so let me just close this up. Okay, so we have all our files that we need. Now we will move on to the Docker part of it. So let me do that. DOS nano Docker file. So we'll create a Docker file for this. So let me mention we're using Node 10 work dir. So you're setting a working directory for this. All right. So with this app, right, we don't, with this reference that we're making, we don't really need to install or do anything extra, because in this image itself, you have npm and everything you will need. So now we just need to copy our files. So we will copy our package.json to the current directory. Then we will run the command npm install. Okay, so with that out of the way, now we'll copy the rest of the things to our folder, and we will expose it at an internal port 8080. All right, so now we just want to run a few commands over here. There's node and server. That's what we did here, comma server.js. All right, so our app should be node 10. We can use a different version. Work directory, we've set it. Copy the package.json file. We've installed all the packages. We've installed anything else that we copied anything else we need onto that location, and we've exposed it. And now we basically ran the cmd command. So this should run on startup of our container. So every time we start up a container, this command will run. Okay. Okay, so now let me save this. So the difference between run command and this command is basically run command runs during the creation of your Docker file, and this one runs when you create your container, at the start of your container. Let me save my Docker file, and we'll exit out of it. Now I will go ahead and build this Docker file, docker build -t. Let us give this a good name, Docker Node.js simple image. That's a way too of a long name, so let me just make it Node.js image itself. So that's the name we're going to be using, and I'll mention the location of Docker file. All right, so it will start building. Right, we need root access. I keep on forgetting to add super user access sudo, and it will start downloading the node image for us. Till then, let's see what kind of questions you guys have asked. Rohan, I see Rohan's back again. Rohan, sure, go ahead and ask a question. And so, intellectual learning is asking how to create a free shopping website on WordPress. So that is a whole another thing. Let me just finish this off, and then I'll try to get back to that. Okay, so we have basically created our Docker image. Now, if I do a Docker images over here, we should find our image. All right, so our Node.js image is over here. Now we can go ahead and create a container out of it. So Docker run -it-d. Let's publish it at the port 4. Let's do this 80 and mention the name of the image, and let's do this. All right, so let's do a docker ps. All right, so we have image running, Node.js image running at the container. This is the name of our container. So it was created 7 seconds ago. So let's try and access this. So we are doing it at local port itself, local host. So it should be at our local host only. So that means if I go directly to the IP, and port 8080, we should get what we want. Alright, so that's how we got what we want. Now you can be assured that this isn't the same thing as before, because we stopped that process for our Node.js. Whenever you do a node start, right, if you don't run it in the background, that means you have to control C it, right? So we can be sure that it's not that. Alright, so this is basically us Dockerizing our Node.js image. Okay, so what we did was we basically set up our Node, app over here. Now, copying all the files, like the copy command, let me just open up the Docker file again. Okay, yeah, so copy wasn't necessarily needed because we already did the npm install over there. We just needed to copy our package.json and we need to run the npm install command. So that's what we did over here also. Right, when we do the npm install command, it will automatically get the node.module and will generate a package log.json file also. We should have created a docker ignore file for not including these. Okay, but we still did it and it's running at this port. So to make sure that this show you that this is running and it's not the previous one, I can go ahead and stop this right now. Sudo docker stop. Let's take the name of the container. Okay, so we have stopped it. Let me just do a docker ps over here. Alright, so we don't have that container running anymore, and if I go ahead and refresh this, I should not get anything at all. Yeah, so we're getting an error, right? And if we go ahead and restart it, sudo docker start, you guys will see that it's up and running again. Okay. Gunjan is asking, please show cmd command. I hope you're asking for the for the Docker file cmd command. So this is the cmd command. Yeah. So now if you guys want this file itself, you can go to the Node.js documentation. There's a similar one over there. You can just get that also. Otherwise, if you want to, copy it and use it, when the session gets over, it will be uploaded as a video. So you can just pause the video and note it down, right? Or if you've been following with me, I've been going pretty slow, so it shouldn't be a problem. All right, so okay, so with that out of the way, I'll start taking questions from you guys. Like, that was the extent of what we can do today. I mean, we have 20 more minutes. Maybe I can show you guys how to launch another app. So what we did today was just for like not production environment or anything. This is just for a developer developing stuff and all. Now we can go ahead and take this card and try to launch this card itself. So I have forked someone else's repo that someone's made a really awesome Express card website using Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. So we can go ahead and launch this using Docker. So let me do a git clone. All right, so let's just head inside this. So you guys can see over here, there are a lot of files. This is like a proper website. So we have a Docker file already over here. We have a app.json. We have a config file. We have a package.json again. So if I show you guys the package.json, you guys can see the package.json over here. So it's a fully functioning Node.js shopping cart with Stripe and PayPal. So here are the scripts that are running: start, Node.js, node app.js, deploy, gulp deploy, test, dev, lint, and a lot more things. All right, let me just come out over here and let's get some proper access. Okay. Okay, so let me show you the Docker file with this. Now this is the Docker Compose file. All right, so I'll have to install Docker Compose for this. Anyways, here's what. You guys ask me any questions you want, because I think the setting up will itself will take a long time. So I'd rather just take questions from you guys. Don't worry if you want a video on this. I have made a video specifically for this. Just type in YouTube. Let's do it on a separate app. Yeah, YouTube Great Learning, and then type shopping, type Docker. So somebody asking for WordPress. I have done a WordPress setup with Docker also. And anyone who's looking for Docker in Hindi, we have done that also over here. So you guys, yeah, how to monitor, no. Yes, it was how to monitor. All right, so with this session, I basically, started up the Express card and we learned how to monitor it. So if you guys
All
want,
right, testing, testing.
if you guys want more in depth
Okay,
in going with that, right? I have done that over here. So I would recommend following this after you've seen this session. Let me just make sure this is the Express card one. And if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask. Because after that, then I'll end the session. Yeah, this is the session. That is how to monitor online bookstore, right? Just go ahead and check that out. So guys, any questions, Q&A? All right, so I assume you guys really didn't have any questions out there, because I don't see anything in the chat. So all right, let me just end the session by giving you a preface on Great Learning Academy again. So just feel free to go to Great Learning Academy, type in Google Great Learning Academy, and the first link you get, just click on that. It's a free certificate thing. Like if you just want to check out some fundamental course, if you're on the fence on learning choosing a career path, you can go ahead and choose any subjects over here. Check them out. If you really like them, you can go for the more professional course, but this is the foundation course that will help you out, and they're completely free, and you even get a certificate for them. Okay, so if you're into IT and software, full stack development, or cybersecurity or Java programming, you can go ahead and check them out also. Now, blockchain basics, I can vouch for this course, because this course is really good. I checked it out myself. I really liked it. You can see it's resume learning over here also. And once you complete these courses, you will get a certificate, but you have to complete a quiz on that. And one more thing, guys. If you want to do all of this on your mobile phone, there we have Great Learning app. You can go ahead and check out the app, and within the app, you can enroll for these courses. Okay. So, guys, that was it for this session. If you want to know about any future sessions, feel free to check out GLA. And once you scroll, you'll see all the live sessions that we schedule. And eagerly wait for any of our future sessions. Thank you so much for watching, guys. My name is Ram, and I'll see you guys in the next session.